Am I wrong for refusing to accept that my best friend of 12 years got back together with her ex-boyfriend who publicly humiliated me, calling me fat and desperate in front of dozens of people? I know friendships require compromise and forgiveness, but there's a line between being supportive and allowing yourself to be disrespected, and I think that line was crossed the night Derek Morrison decided to use my insecurities as weapons in front of half our social circle. My name is Sarah, I'm 31 years old, and 6 months ago, I lost my best friend because I wouldn't pretend to be okay with her dating the man who shattered my self-esteem and made me question my worth as a human being. Some people tell me I was right to set boundaries and protect my mental health. Others say I was selfish and rigid, that I should have put Maya's happiness above my own hurt feelings. But here's what those people don't understand. This wasn't just about hurt feelings or wounded pride. This was about watching someone I loved choose to be with a person who had deliberately tried to destroy me, and then being expected to smile and play nice like it never happened. This was about realizing that 12 years of friendship apparently meant less than a few months of makeup sex with a man who treats people like emotional punching bags when he doesn't get his way. I've spent the last 6 months questioning everything I thought I knew about friendship, loyalty, and self-respect. I've lost not just Maya, but most of our mutual friends who took her side in what they called the drama. I've been excluded from birthday parties, wedding invitations, and group trips because my presence would make things awkward. And through it all, I've wondered if I made the right choice, or if I threw away the most important relationship in my life over something I should have been able to forgive and forget. So I'm asking you to help me figure this out, because honestly, I'm drowning in doubt and I need someone to tell me whether I'm a strong woman who knows her worth or a stubborn friend who destroyed a beautiful relationship over wounded pride. Maya Rodriguez and I met in college 19, both of us awkward sophomores trying to figure out who we wanted to be. She was studying marketing, I was in graphic design, and we bonded over late-night study sessions fueled by cheap coffee and shared dreams of careers that would let us travel the world and live in apartments with exposed brick walls and floor-to-ceiling windows. We were inseparable from day one. Maya was the extroverted one, the girl who could walk into any room and make friends within minutes, who remembered everyone's birthday and organized group trips that somehow always went perfectly. I was quieter, more analytical, the one who researched restaurants and booked flights and made sure we had backup plans for our backup plans. Our friendship worked because we complemented each other perfectly. Maya pushed me to take risks I never would have taken alone, like the semester we spent studying abroad in Barcelona, or the time she convinced me to quit my soul-crushing corporate job and freelance full-time. I grounded her when her impulsiveness threatened to get her in trouble, talked her through relationship drama, and was always the designated driver who made sure she got home safely after her legendary nights out. For 12 years, we were the kind of friends that people envied. We took annual trips together, knew each other's families like they were our own, and had inside jokes that could make us laugh until our stomachs hurt. Maya was my maid of honor when I married Tom 3 years ago, and I fully expected to return the favor someday when she found the right person to settle down with. We lived in Denver, both of us working in the creative industry, both of us building careers we were proud of. Maya had worked her way up to marketing director at a boutique advertising agency, and I had a thriving freelance graphic design business with clients across the country. We'd survived college drama, career changes, family crises, and the usual ups and downs of adult life, and I honestly believed our friendship was unbreakable. That's the thing about believing something is permanent. It makes you complacent, makes you think you can weather any storm because you've weathered so many already. I never imagined that a relationship could come between us because Maya had dated plenty of people over the years, and we'd always navigated those waters just fine. But Derek was different. Derek was toxic in ways that none of us recognized until it was too late. Derek Morrison entered our lives on a Friday evening in March, exactly 18 months ago. Maya and I were at Prohibition, this trendy cocktail bar in downtown Denver that served drinks with names like Bee's Knees and Corpse Reviver, in glasses that cost more than some people's dinner. We were celebrating Maya's promotion to marketing director, toasting her success with champagne cocktails and making plans for the vacation she was finally going to be able to afford. Derek was sitting at the bar alone, and honestly, my first impression was that he was trying too hard. Expensive suit, perfectly styled hair, the kind of watch that's designed to be noticed from across the room. He looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread about successful young professionals, which should have been our first warning sign. In my experience, people who try that hard to look perfect usually have something to hide. But Maya was immediately attracted to his confidence, the way he seemed comfortable in his own skin, the stories he told about his job in commercial real estate, and the deals he was closing. He bought us drinks, made us laugh, and when he asked for Maya's number at the end of the night, she gave it to him without hesitation. Their first few dates seemed normal enough. Derek took Maya to nice restaurants, bought her flowers, planned elaborate weekend getaways to mountain resorts and spa retreats. He was attentive and romantic in all the ways that Maya had been craving after a string of relationships with men who treated dating like a casual hobby rather than an opportunity to build something meaningful. But there were signs, little things that made me uncomfortable, even though I couldn't articulate why. Derek had opinions about everything: Maya's clothes, her friends, her job, her hobbies. He disguised his criticism as helpful suggestions, always delivered with a smile and a kiss on the forehead, but there was an underlying current of control that made my skin crawl. He didn't like it when Maya made plans without consulting him first. He thought her coworkers were beneath her, and that she should be more selective about the social events she attended. He made jokes about her weight that weren't quite mean enough to be obviously cruel, but weren't quite loving enough to be playful teasing either. What do you think about what I've shared so far? Were these legitimate red flags, or was I being overprotective of my friend? Let me know in the comments below, because I'm still trying to understand how things escalated so quickly from subtle control to public humiliation. The night that destroyed our friendship happened on October 15th, exactly 8 months after Maya and Derek started dating. It was Jessica Kim's 28th birthday party, held at her apartment in Capitol Hill, one of those trendy Denver neighborhoods where young professionals pay ridiculous rent to live in converted warehouses with exposed pipes and concrete floors. The party was everything you'd expect from our social circle: craft cocktails, a carefully curated playlist, and about 40 people dressed in what could generously be called effortlessly chic outfits that probably took hours to plan. Maya had spent the afternoon getting ready, texting me photos of different outfit options and asking for advice on jewelry and shoes. I'd been looking forward to the party for weeks. It had been months since our entire friend group had been together in one place, and I was excited to catch up with people I hadn't seen since the summer. I'd bought a new dress, spent extra time on my makeup, and felt confident and happy when Tom and I arrived at Jessica's apartment around 8 o'clock. Maya and Derek were already there, holding court near the kitchen island, Derek telling some story about a difficult client that had everyone laughing. He looked handsome in his typical expensive casual way, and Maya was glowing with the kind of happiness that comes from feeling loved and appreciated. They seemed like the perfect couple, and I remember thinking that maybe I'd been wrong to worry about their relationship dynamics. The evening was going perfectly until Derek had too much to drink. He'd been nursing craft cocktails all night, and by 10 o'clock his careful charm was starting to slip. His voice was getting louder, his jokes were getting meaner, and Maya was starting to look embarrassed by his behavior. The explosion happened during a conversation about dating apps. Someone had mentioned a horror story from Tinder, and the group had devolved into sharing funny and terrible dating experiences. I made a self-deprecating joke about my own pre-Tom dating life, something about how I'd mastered the art of first dates that never led to second dates. That's when Derek decided to offer his unsolicited opinion about why I'd struggled with dating. Thank you so much for staying with me this far. I know this is getting uncomfortable, but trust me, understanding what happened that night is crucial to understanding why I made the choice I made. The most painful part of this story is still coming, so please don't click away now. You know why you never got second dates, Sarah? Derek said, his voice carrying across the conversation like a knife cutting through silk. The entire group went quiet, sensing that something unpleasant was about to happen. It's because you come across as desperate, like you're trying too hard to prove you're worth someone's time. I felt my face flush red, but I tried to laugh it off. Thanks for the constructive feedback, Derek, I said, hoping to deflect with humor the way I always did when I felt attacked. But Derek wasn't done. He was drunk enough to be cruel, but sober enough to know exactly where to aim his verbal punches for maximum damage. I'm serious, he continued, swaying slightly as he gestured toward me with his cocktail glass. Look at you right now. You're dressed like you're trying to be someone you're not, wearing makeup that's too heavy for your face, acting like you belong in conversations about dating when everyone knows you got lucky finding Tom. The room had gone completely silent now. I could feel 40 pairs of eyes on me, watching this train wreck unfold, and I wanted nothing more than to disappear into the concrete floor beneath my feet. But Derek was just getting started. "And let's be honest about the real issue here," he said, his voice getting louder and more vicious with each word. "You're jealous that Maya found someone who actually wants to be with her, instead of settling for whatever she could get like you did. You've been trying to sabotage our relationship since day one, because you can't stand seeing your friend happy with someone who's out of her league." I opened my mouth to defend myself, but Derek cut me off with a dismissive wave of his hand. "Save it, Sarah. Everyone here knows the truth. You're fat, you're desperate, and you're bitter because you peaked in college and it's been downhill ever since. Maya deserves better than a friend who's constantly trying to drag her down to your level." The silence that followed felt like it lasted for hours, though it was probably only a few seconds. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears, could feel tears starting to burn behind my eyes, could sense the shocked discomfort of everyone around us. Tom stepped closer to me, his face red with anger, but I grabbed his arm before he could say anything that would escalate the situation further. Maya was staring at Derek with an expression of horror and disbelief, like she was seeing him clearly for the first time. "Derek, what the hell is wrong with you?" she whispered, but her voice was drowned out by the awkward murmur of conversations resuming as people tried to pretend they hadn't just witnessed someone being emotionally eviscerated at a birthday party. I didn't say anything else. I couldn't. The words were stuck in my throat, choking me with their cruelty and their precision. Derek hadn't just attacked me randomly. He'd identified my deepest insecurities and used them as weapons, striking at the parts of myself I was most afraid were true. Tom and I left the party within minutes, but the damage was already done. Derek's words echoed in my head during the entire silent drive home, and I knew they would keep echoing for months to come. Maya called me the next morning, crying and apologetic and furious at Derek for what he'd done. "Sarah, I'm so sorry," she said through her tears. "I can't believe he said those things to you. I was mortified. I wanted to disappear." She told me she'd had a huge fight with Derek after Tom and I left the party, that she'd made him sleep on the couch and was seriously considering ending their relationship. "He was drunk, but that's no excuse," she said. "The way he talked to you was unforgivable. I'm so ashamed that I brought him into your life." For the next few days, Maya and Derek were broken up. She stayed at my house, crying on my couch and dissecting every moment of their 8-month relationship, looking for signs she should have seen earlier. We talked about his controlling behavior, his subtle put-downs, his need to be the center of attention at every social gathering. "I don't know what I was thinking," Maya said during one of our late-night conversations. "I guess I was so flattered by his attention that I ignored all the red flags. You tried to warn me, but I didn't want to listen." I felt vindicated, but also sad for my friend. Maya had genuinely cared about Derek, had been planning a future with him, and now she was forced to confront the reality that he wasn't the man she thought he was. Breakups are always painful, but this one was especially brutal because it forced Maya to question her own judgment and acknowledge that she'd been in a relationship with someone who was capable of real cruelty. Derek tried to contact Maya repeatedly during those first few days, sending flowers, leaving voicemails, showing up at her apartment with elaborate apologies and promises to change. Maya ignored all of it, blocked his number, and seemed genuinely committed to moving on with her life. For about a month, things felt normal again. Maya and I fell back into our old routines, spending weekends together, planning trips, rebuilding the closeness that Derek's presence had disrupted. I started to believe that the whole nightmare was behind us, that Maya had learned a valuable lesson about toxic relationships and would be more careful about red flags in the future. I should have known it wouldn't be that simple. People like Derek don't give up easily, and people like Maya sometimes mistake persistence for love. The first sign something was wrong came in early December, about 6 weeks after the breakup. Maya started being vague about her evening plans, canceling our standing dinner dates with last-minute excuses about work or family obligations. She seemed distracted during our conversations, checking her phone constantly and giving me answers that felt rehearsed rather than genuine. I assumed she was dating someone new and wasn't ready to introduce him to our friend group yet. Maya had always been private about new relationships until she was sure they had potential, so her secretiveness didn't immediately alarm me. If anything, I was happy that she seemed to be moving on from Derek and opening herself up to meeting someone healthier. But then I started noticing other things. Maya would mention restaurants I knew she'd been to with Derek, talk about movies that sounded like his pretentious taste rather than hers. She had new jewelry that looked expensive and sophisticated, not the sort of thing she typically bought for herself. When I complimented a bracelet she was wearing, she got flustered and changed the subject quickly. The truth came out on a cold February evening, almost exactly 4 months after Derek's public attack on me at Jessica's party. Maya and I were supposed to meet for drinks at our usual place, but she called an hour before to cancel, claiming she had food poisoning and needed to stay home. Except I saw her Instagram story later that night. A photo of dessert at Mercantile, one of Denver's most expensive restaurants, with someone whose hands were clearly visible in the frame. Hands wearing the same distinctive watch Derek had worn to every social event for the past year and a half. I screenshot the photo and stared at it for probably 20 minutes, trying to convince myself I was wrong, that it was just a coincidence, that Maya wouldn't lie to me about something this important. But the evidence was right there in front of me, and suddenly all of her weird behavior over the past 2 months made perfect sense. Maya had gotten back together with Derek, and she'd been lying to me about it for months. I didn't sleep that night. I kept staring at the screenshot, analyzing every detail, wondering how long Maya had been deceiving me and whether our entire friendship had been built on lies. By morning, I was angry in a way I'd never been angry at Maya before. Not just disappointed or hurt, but genuinely furious at being treated like someone whose feelings didn't matter. I called Maya and asked her to come over that afternoon. "We need to talk," I said, and something in my tone must have told her exactly what the conversation was going to be about, because she arrived at my house looking defensive and guilty. "Before you say anything," she started, but I cut her off. "How long?" I asked, holding up my phone with the screenshot displayed. "How long have you been back together with Derek?" Maya's face crumpled, and for a moment she looked like the guilty teenager she'd probably been when her parents caught her sneaking out past curfew. 3 months, she whispered. "We've been back together for 3 months. 3 months. 3 months of lies, of canceled plans, of Maya looking me in the eye and pretending to be single while she was secretly rebuilding a relationship with the man who had publicly humiliated me. 3 months of me believing that our friendship was back to normal while Maya was living a double life. How could you lie to me like this?" I asked, and I could hear my voice breaking with the weight of betrayal. "After what he did to me, after everything we talked about, how could you get back together with him and not tell me?" Maya started crying, but they weren't the genuine tears of remorse I was hoping to see. They were the manipulative tears of someone who'd been caught and was trying to make herself the victim of the situation. "He's changed, Sarah," she said through her sobs. "He's been going to therapy, working on his anger issues, learning how to communicate better. That night at Jessica's party was rock bottom for him, and it made him realize he needed to get help." "And you believed him?" I asked, incredulous. "He's different now, more self-aware, more considerate. He's been doing the work to become a better person." I stared at my best friend of 12 years and realized I was looking at a stranger. The Maya I knew would never have fallen for such obvious manipulation. The Maya I knew would have put our friendship above any romantic relationship, especially one with someone who had treated me so cruelly. "I can't accept this, Maya," I said, my voice steady despite the emotional storm raging inside me. "I can't pretend to be okay with you dating someone who called me fat and desperate in front of our entire social circle. I can't sit through dinners with him, pretend to be happy at parties where he's present, act like nothing happened." Maya wiped her eyes and looked at me with a mixture of desperation and defiance. "He wants to apologize to you, Sarah. He's been wanting to make things right, but I told him you needed more time to heal first." "I don't want his apology," I said. "I want you to choose between him and me, because I can't be friends with someone who's in a relationship with Derek Morrison." The words hung in the air between us like a toxic cloud. I'd never given Maya an ultimatum before, had never put our friendship in jeopardy over a man, but this felt different. This wasn't about jealousy or competition. This was about basic respect and self-preservation. Maya's tears stopped immediately, replaced by an expression of shock and anger. "You're asking me to choose between my boyfriend and my best friend?" "I'm asking you to choose between your abusive boyfriend and your best friend who's trying to protect both of you from further damage." "He's not abusive, Sarah. He made a mistake when he was drunk, but people can change. People can grow." "People like Derek don't change, Maya. They just get better at hiding who they really are until the next time they feel threatened or out of control. We argued for another hour, both of us saying things we probably regretted. Both of us trying to make the other person understand a perspective that felt completely foreign. Maya accused me of being jealous, controlling, and unwilling to forgive. I accused her of being naive, manipulated, and willing to sacrifice our friendship for a man who would inevitably hurt her again. In the end, Maya made her choice. She stood up from my couch, grabbed her purse, and looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Cold, distant, final. "I love Derek," she said. "And if you can't accept that, then maybe we're not as good friends as I thought we were." She walked out of my house that day, and we haven't spoken since. Losing Maya was devastating enough, but I quickly discovered that ending our friendship meant losing access to most of our mutual social circle as well. When you've been friends with someone for 12 years, your lives become intertwined in ways you don't fully appreciate until they're suddenly severed. Jessica Kim's engagement party was the first event I wasn't invited to. I found out about it through Instagram stories, watching our mutual friends celebrate while I sat alone in my apartment, realizing that my absence had been specifically requested to avoid drama and awkwardness. The same thing happened with Sarah Martinez's housewarming party, Mike Thompson's birthday dinner, and the annual group trip to Aspen that Maya and I had been planning together for months before our friendship imploded. One by one, I was excluded from social events that had been part of my regular routine for years. At first, I tried to maintain individual friendships with people from our group, reaching out to arrange one-on-one coffee dates and dinner plans. Some people were genuinely sympathetic to my position and agreed that Derek's behavior had been unacceptable, but they still weren't willing to choose sides in what they saw as unnecessary drama between friends. "Can't you just apologize and move past this?" Jessica asked during one of our coffee dates. "I mean, I get that Derek was horrible to you, but Maya seems really happy now, and it's been months since the party. Maybe it's time to let bygones be bygones." Others were more direct in their disapproval of my decision. "Maya has been your friend for 12 years, Mike said when I tried to explain my position. "Doesn't that count for something? Doesn't that earn her the right to make her own romantic choices, even if you disagree with them?" What none of them understood was that this wasn't about disagreeing with Maya's romantic choices. This was about refusing to normalize emotional abuse and manipulation. Derek hadn't just insulted me. He'd deliberately tried to destroy my self-esteem using information he'd gathered from months of dating my best friend. That wasn't a mistake or a moment of poor judgment. It was calculated cruelty designed to put me in my place. But explaining that to people who hadn't experienced Derek's particular brand of toxicity felt impossible. To them, I was the friend who couldn't let go of a grudge, who was willing to destroy relationships over hurt feelings, who was too proud to accept an apology and move forward. It's been 6 months since Maya walked out of my house, and the silence between us has been deafening. I've written probably 50 text messages that I never sent, picked up the phone to call her at least 100 times, driven past her apartment building more often than I care to admit. The impulse to reach out and try to repair our friendship is still there, but it's tempered by the knowledge that nothing has really changed. Maya is still with Derek. According to the mutual friends who still talk to me, they're living together now, talking about engagement, planning a future that apparently doesn't include room for friends who refuse to accept Derek's presence in their lives. Maya seems happy, or at least that's what everyone tells me, and maybe that should be enough to make me reconsider my position. But it's not enough, because I know what I saw that night at Jessica's party. I know the look in Derek's eyes when he decided to destroy me, the calculated precision with which he aimed his verbal assault, the satisfaction he seemed to derive from watching me crumble. People don't develop that kind of cruelty overnight, and they don't lose it just because they've been caught. The hardest part isn't missing Maya, though I do miss her terribly. The hardest part is questioning whether I made the right choice, whether my principles were worth the price I've paid for maintaining them. Some nights, I lie awake wondering if I'm a strong woman who knows her worth, or a stubborn friend who let pride destroy the most important relationship in her life. Tom thinks I made the right choice. "You can't control who Maya dates," he told me recently, "but you can control who you allow in your life. Derek showed you exactly who he is, and you believed him. That's not stubbornness, that's self-respect." My therapist agrees, though she's more diplomatic in her phrasing. Healthy relationships require mutual respect, she says. If someone in your social circle treats you with deliberate cruelty, it's reasonable to set boundaries around future interactions with that person, even if it means limiting contact with mutual friends. But late at night, when I'm scrolling through social media and seeing photos of Maya laughing at parties I wasn't invited to, I wonder if everyone else is right. Maybe forgiveness is more important than self-protection. Maybe good friends find ways to coexist with people they don't like for the sake of preserving relationships that matter more than personal comfort. So here I am, 6 months later, asking you the question that haunts me daily. Am I wrong for refusing to accept my friend getting back together with her ex who verbally abused me? Did I choose pride over love, stubbornness over compassion, self-protection over friendship? I've told you everything. The cruelty of Derek's attack, the depth of Maya's betrayal, the loneliness of losing not just my best friend but most of my social circle. I've shared my doubts, my regrets, and my ongoing questions about whether I made the right choice or destroyed something beautiful over something that maybe I should have been able to forgive. The truth is, I don't know if there was a right choice in this situation. Maybe Maya is genuinely happy with Derek, and maybe he has changed in ways that make him a better partner than he was 18 months ago. Maybe I'm missing out on years of friendship over something that happened when he was drunk and angry and not thinking clearly. But I also know that the words Derek said to me that night weren't random insults thrown around in the heat of the moment. They were carefully chosen weapons designed to hit me where it would hurt most, using intimate knowledge of my insecurities that he could only have gained through Maya's trust. That kind of calculated cruelty doesn't disappear because someone goes to therapy or promises to change. I miss Maya every day. I miss our friendship, our shared history, our plans for the future that will now never happen. I miss having someone who knew me well enough to finish my sentences and loved me enough to call me out when I was being ridiculous. I miss being part of a social group where I felt accepted and valued and understood. But I don't miss the anxiety of wondering when Derek would strike again, the discomfort of pretending to be okay with his presence, the slow erosion of my self-worth that would have inevitably resulted from accepting his place in our social circle. Some prices are too high to pay, even for love, even for friendship, even for belonging. Leave me your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me what you would have done in my situation. Was I right to set boundaries and stick to them, even when it cost me everything? Or should I have found a way to forgive Derek and preserve my friendship with Maya, even if it meant compromising my own emotional well-being? And if this story made you think about your own relationships, about where you draw the line between supporting friends and protecting yourself, please subscribe to this channel. There are more stories like this, real people facing impossible choices between loyalty and self-respect, and maybe together we can figure out how to navigate the complicated terrain of adult friendships. Your next recommended video is about a woman who discovered her sister was spreading lies about her marriage to their entire family and had to decide whether to confront her publicly or handle it privately. Click to watch that story now.